there's been, let's say, a struggle to get minutes out and posted. So I'll leave it at that.
Nothing new.
Carol,
Okay, all right.
so I'm willing to work here. So you're looking for 10 or 14 calendar days?
14, and that's according to Interstate law. I mean, like I said, you can pass whatever, it's just I can tell you now that it's not available.
What's the board think?
What part of New York State law?
Municipal law, you can talk to the,
272?
pardon?
272?
I think it would, I'd have to try and find it, because it's not one that's ringing a bell.
Is it more for us getting it out so that the public knows what the minutes, being able to see the minutes and all that, Mike?
That's exactly what's about.
Okay, so I mean, 7 days versus 2 weeks, I mean, is it gonna make that much difference as long as it gets put out? I mean, I don't know, I'm just feeling the water.
So, how's this for a compromise? 13 days? Well, so, let me finish. So 13 days, that gives, we'll be emailing to Tim, then he has 24 hours to put them up. So then we meet the state requirement of 14 days. So, for example,
Well, the
tonight's,
state requirement for 14 days is for the town clerk to have a draft, not to be on the website, but it's that the clerk have a draft, which could be distributed or not
So-
distributed.
we went from 7 days to 13, you can't be on one day?
I can try.
Will that give you enough time, Tim, to get it on the website?
I think my 24 hours is still 24 hours.
No, I'm just asking. If that
Well,
gives you-
I may not be
That's
around
good.
and available every time, you know, but for the most part, that's not a problem.
Okay. No, I just was.
It's
covering
pretty
all
easy to
bases.
do.
And I would say the same thing, for the most part, it's not an issue. There's gonna be times I can't do it in 13 days. It's tax collection season, it's budget season, so I can only,
Well, all we're gonna ask everybody
Do my
in
best.
life is to do the best you can do. And it's not, you know, do or die here. I'm just asking for a documented process here.
which is fine, that's not a problem.
Bob, what's your thought?
I'm getting to work together, I mean, you know.
I need a number,
makes
Bob.
ways, huh?
I need a number. What's your calendar look like? What's your suggestion?
You know, I like to go by the law myself. If the law says 2 weeks, then, you know. But that's my own feeling.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to read the law and try to get a feel for what it says. And I'm not trying to second against Carol, I'm not trying to, it's just that, you know, the spirit of the thing, not necessarily the letter, and that's what I think is important. And
So-
getting minutes out for our meetings, it's helpful to me, if it's timely and it doesn't overlap another meeting, and so, yeah, 14 days seems reasonable.
That's exactly on the next meeting.
Yeah,
That's
no.
exactly on the next meeting. And keep in mind, again, we've had people write to me, or I guess called Ronnie and left a message, and I don't remember the person's name, and somebody's contacted Tim directly, going, where are the minutes? So this is really the object here, is to document and say, this is the procedure for the town, right? Town law usually supersedes state law, or, well,
Okay.
yeah. So, your thought is,
I say, let's go with 13 days. I mean, you know, we're kind of nitpicking here, but it's kind of like, it's kind of a, I think this is a good thing for us, sometime,
Mhm.
to see the minutes. And then to put them up on the website so that our citizens can see the minutes. And it does put pressure on Carol, which is regrettable, but on the other hand, maybe it'll be easier than you think.
No, Joe. The town clerk's office does taxes for the whole year, collection for 4 months. Records management, freedom of information, audit and claims and abstracts, dog licensing, database violation fees, notary public.
So,
And that is the first 10. Town clerk's office has kind of a minor role, other than minutes, with the town board. So they are usually done in 2 weeks in draft form. So that's not my disputed issue, you know. You have to understand, these things take precedent over. Okay, so.
Did you look at did you find this?
I didn't see the 2 week version, might be in the
I'll
public.
make a suggestion, could you check on this? And let us know if this is, if it's actual 2 weeks, and if there's a way that we can work around this, because 2 weeks is not giving them enough time, people give them enough time to see what the agenda is.
this is an agenda.
Well,
These
the
are
first
minutes.
be posting the minutes.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. Shouldn't take very long at all.
If you want to,
Table this for
for
now?
the agenda meeting, right? Do you want to?
No. Okay. Let's make it 14 days. Let's move it on. So scratch 7, make it 14. So, do I have a motion?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Why don't you leave the resolution as it is, and if it's, Peter looks into it and it can't be, and if that is the law, then I'll have to rescind the resolution.
Yeah, leave it the way it is, and when we find it.
I'm pretty sure it's in the public officers'
Yeah, which I just don't happen to have a copy of tonight, so,
because
yeah,
we're under the same guide to.
yeah. So, it's up to you guys how you want to proceed.
Let's do the 14. It'll be the same with everybody.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Do you want me to read it first?
What's that?
I should probably read it first.
Oh, I thought we did.
No. So resolve that the following town board, resolve that the following town board meeting minutes policy be adopted. That within 14 calendar days of any town board meeting, whether it's agenda, regular, special, or emergency, the town clerk will produce draft meeting minutes. These draft meeting minutes will be then sent, emailed by the town clerk directly to the town web administrator, and the town board copied or CC'd on the email. These draft minutes will be posted on the town's website for public viewing as a draft document within 24 hours of the web administrator receiving the email minutes document. Within 2 calendar days of the town board formally adopting and/or amending minutes, the town clerk will directly email these amended and/or final approved minutes to the web administrator and copy the town board on the email. The web administrator will then post the amended or final approved meeting minutes as a final document within 24 hours of receipt of the email. So I think it's a nice cut and dry policy. Shouldn't need too much.
So probably a good idea then, if they get emailed to the board members, then I won't make paper copy for all the board members, right?
And green is good.
Right. Okay,
I'll make the motion, Mike.
Oh, you Joe.
I'll second it.
Esposito,
Yes.
Jazinski,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Joyce.
Yes. The Records Advisory Board, work with the Records Management Officer on process for maintaining, saving, destroying or any of the records of the town. So what I'm resolving here, I'm asking the board to, for a resolution, is to go ahead and appoint, or to create the board, and then ask an odd number of members, 3 or 5, to be on that board again, to help develop policies as far as records management for the town.
How does that work? It's understated.
Do
Destruction
you think
and
this has been
retention
superseded by,
records retention, which comes from the state, and our documents.
but I don't think this is really consistent with that, because I think all
Well,
this.
it might not be, I don't know
Yeah,
what you're looking
yeah,
at. I'm just
okay.
saying, I mean, I have to go by state, so it can't be,
And I
some
think-
advisory board says, well, you can throw that away. Well, no, I can't, because the state says.
So let me read what the Records Advisory Board
Okay.
responsibilities are in this statute, which is to, board is designated to work closely with and provide advice to the records management officer. Board shall meet periodically and have the following duties: to provide advice to the records management officer on the development of the records management program, review the performance of the program on an ongoing basis and propose changes and improvements, review retention periods proposed by the records management office for records not covered by state archives requirements, provide advice on the appraisal of records for archival value, and to be the final sign-off entity as to what is or is not archival.
Now, how can they do that? Because the state does that.
Perhaps that's intended to mean stuff that's not covered by the state archive schedule, whether that has some archival value that should be maintained. That's the way I
I
read
think
that.
we should find out, because that's.
Well, I mean, this is the way that the
Okay,
statute
that's
is
fine,
drafted.
that's
I mean,
fine.
what we may want to do is, after looking at this and comparing it to the state requirements, is decide this law's been superseded and we
Yeah.
need to change it. So
Yeah.
that may be one of
I
the
think
things that
that's
we
what you'll find.
intend to do, but, although I gotta believe the state archives requirements go back before 91. So the way I've read this, and I haven't read it in a little while,
Yeah,
is that this is
yeah.
intended to be complementary to that and not
Oh,
to
that's-
supersede it.
Okay. Which is fine, they can advise all they want, but I still have to go by the state,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So it doesn't matter what,
Yes,
so, okay.
unless this can be read as superseding the state law. The town does have the ability to change in the municipal home
Mhm.
rule to change state requirements. So we can also look into that as
Yeah,
well. So,
I have a state control whatever.
okay. Okay, so the idea is this would be to appoint members to this board. And as far as I know, this board has not been constituted, at least as far as I've been. I will say, and I just want to make sure the board is aware, the process by which those board members are appointed is not clear in this law at all. The only real guidance in here at all is that this is to be a records management program established under the aegis of the Princetown Town Clerk. So I think this is subject to a reading that it's possible that the clerk should be the person to appoint this board as opposed to the supervisor. I can't answer that question for you because this law is just completely vague about that. So I don't know if that's something, if you would resist the board appointing, giving Mike the authority to appoint those members. Maybe you guys can come up with an agreement where you appoint 3, 2, he appoints 2, the board appoints 1. But it's just not real clear that the board has the ability to appoint these board members. And I think the board and the clerk should probably come to some kind of resolution on that. So, with that guidance, it's really up to you guys how you want to proceed.
I'm fine with splitting the board, or, appointments, I guess.
Yeah.
We have to change the way it's worded.
Uh,
Well, it's saying that it gives Supervisor Joyce the powers and duties to appoint members. that if we're gonna divide it, right? I mean, the word double. I would think, I don't know, I could be wrong.
I would agree with that. I would certainly be far clearer.
So, town board authorizing delegates to town supervisor Joyce and town clerk McLean the powers and duties to appoint members to the records advisory board as provided town law, blah, blah, blah.
We
I
can
would-
just add in the town clerk,
That's what I said.
right? Leave it the way it is.
Well, the number's gonna be,
Yeah, that would be vague as to who appoints what.
you know,
Wouldn't surprise me if just finding 5 people who are willing to do this might be a challenge, so.
I wasn't gonna go 5, but
Oh,
I'm gonna just go 3.
Okay.
You know, my thought here is, you know, again, the town board should have the weight, so I would suggest that the town board get 2, Carol gets 1. Again, it's just my view, but. Lou?
Kind of agree with that.
Joe?
I agree.
Bob?
I was thinking along the same line, I mean, if you pick one, the rest of the board pick one, Carol pick one, it's the same difference.
It's not me, I'm picking, it's the board.
No, but I mean, you were talking about supervisor
Oh, yeah.
appointing,
Yeah,
so.
if that's the case, I mean, the way this is drafted now, they're delegating the authority to you, Mike.
Right,
to
that's
choose.
what I was-
So if it's to be the board picking, we should make it clear that that's what your intent is.
I'm okay with the board doing one way or the other, fine with me.
All right. You can try to put the pace up a little bit. So, resolve the town board of the town of Princetown hereby authorizing delegates to town clerk McLean and the town board the powers and duties to appoint members to the records advisory board as provided in the Princetown law. Local law 1 in the year 1991, and that is per section 3 of the local law, the RAB board shall consist of an odd number of members. Actually, just scratch that. Consist of 3 members of Princetown residents, 2 to be picked by town board, and 1 to be picked by town clerk. Nominated, appointed.
I would leave this language as it is, as per section 3 of such local law, the RAD board shall consist of an odd number of members of no more than 5 Princetown residents, because that's what the law says. I would just leave it as period, and then have a new sentence that says, the board, the town board shall select, the majority of the members of the board. So that allows them to pick either 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5, in the event you get extra volunteers.
So can you look into that further, just for me, to see if it's
As far as how,
Yeah.
whether it complements the archives,
all,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I want to end up with something somewhere.
sure.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Esposito,
Yes.
Jazinski,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes. Right, something a little less heavy. Solar panels for the town hall. I'm sure everybody read the paper, I think it was last Sunday's paper, there's a pretty good article in there about solar panels. Lou is, read the article, brought it to, you know, to further attention. So what we're asking here, or I'll be asking, is the town board form a committee to review the possibility and feasibility of placing some solar panels on the town hall, on the trooper barracks, and I guess it's a really good solar panels on 2 pump houses. but I'm sure that's probably a stretch.
Comment about this?
Yeah,
I've been in contact with the city of Mechanicsville, just questioning them because this article highlighted the city of Mechanicsville about installing these solar panels, and they've done it at a 30% reduction, is what they did. It cost no cost to the town. They funded both the, I think it's Solar Associates of East Greenbush. They installed the solar panels. This is the way they did it. They installed the solar panels on the City Hall, their Senior Citizen Center, and Department of Public Works. They're gonna be starting next week. And they did it with no cost to the town because they didn't have the money to fund it. Now, we certainly don't have to go this route if we don't want to, but it did not cost them, they guaranteed a 30% discount, if that's the way we wanted to go. I was in touch with Solar Associates of East Greenbush, and if the town board is willing to go along with it, I can set up a meeting with them, and they'd be willing to come up and discuss it with whoever Mike decides to appoint, or the board decides to appoint, and we can start looking into it. As a matter of fact, the accounts manager from the city of Mechanicsville invited us to come and take a look at their installation when it gets going, which is, they're gonna start next week. He also said he would take us to Jack Byrne Ford, had it installed by this company. I think DCana Furniture had it installed already, they're just finishing up, and you had Haney's Golf Carts. They already had theirs installed, and he wanted us to show us around. And I think if we can save 30%, even just 30% on it, and like I say, I don't know if this is the right way to go, if we want to go at all with it, or do we want to try buying ourselves and maybe having a service contract, but it's something to look into. And if it's not going to cost the town nothing to do this, maybe this is the way to go with the 30%. But this is something we can get down the road if we want to authorize the board to look into it and point.
Town of Niskuna just did it too.
Did
If you don't want to go as far as Mechanical. It's closer.
Yeah.
we know they got a lot of money though.
Well, I think it's probably in the same deal, which is that, and I do a lot of work in the solar space, and this is the way it's going, is that the company owns the panels.
Right.
And they're basically just selling you the power. And they're doing it at a flat rate, so your power stays the same over long periods of time.
Yeah, he said it's 20 to 30%. They agreed on a 30% discount from City of Mechanicsville.
It's great.
So,
All right, so with that, we have a motion that the town board, the town of Princetown hereby authorizes and delegates to town supervisor Joyce the powers and duties of form a committee to review the possibility and feasibility of placing solar panels on town hall, trooper barracks, and the 2 town municipal water supply pump houses. This committee will report back to the town board at each agenda meeting with status and current findings.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Who's second?
Bob?
Esposito?
yes.
Trina?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Yes. So I wanted to step a little bit out of process here. So the next one is about our fall and zoning change request. So Pat has been patient enough to stay for a couple hours now. So the planning board has made a recommendation. You guys have copies of it. It's out for the, I left Pat's recommendation out there. So I wanted Pat maybe to touch on this a little bit, and then I'm going to go, with our current recommendation as it stands today. There'll be the next couple of resolutions kind of tie everything in together, but I don't know, Pat, if you wanted to just talk about it for a
Yeah, I
second
can
or
just
so.
give a quick, Mr. Paul owns property on Pangburn Road at 1282 to 1288. I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but go under the, the I-88 bridge, and his property is just on the left there. He's in the C1 Commercial 1 district. He has received a special use permit from the planning board a few years ago to allow him a more expedited process to get tenants, and he has a lot of space that he rents out to people. And his initial complaint was that, the process took him so long to get a special use permit that he would lose tenants. So he came in a few years ago, we worked with him to kind of get a process down whereby we kind of approved certain types of tenants ahead of time. And we would only have to meet with Dan and go over the tenant and what they were going to be keeping in there. And if it fell within certain guidelines, he wouldn't have to come in for us. So now I guess he still says he has problems getting people in there because they want to use the buildings for storage. And storage or warehousing is not allowed or special use in the C1 district. So his request was for the town board to do a zoning change from C1 to C2. We don't have a lot of C2 in this town, but the C2 does allow warehousing with a special use permit. So we talked to him for quite a while, and we gave a couple scenarios there where there's a little map on your second page where the C1 district is. He claims he also has a petition from, I think it's Empire Paving, Mohawk Heating, and the Cirillo's cabinetry place, that they would also want to be C2 as well. But, the big thing with the zoning change is you really need to come in and support why you want this, and the other people would have to do the same thing. And so we felt that, he could go to you directly, but he hasn't sought any relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. He could potentially go to them and ask for a use variance. So use variances are not that easy to get, but it really is another step in there before he comes to the town board. If he gets denied by the zoning board for use variance, then his only other, recall would be to come to the town board for a zoning.
Did you explain what the difference is between C1 and C2?
It's just the uses that are allowed. All the uses that are allowed in C1 are also allowed in C2. C2 allows a couple other things like light industrial, warehousing. Those are the two main ones, but with a special use permit. They're not allowed uses without it still coming before the planning board. So, warehousing could be many things. So you have to be careful with warehousing because, it could be a huge Target warehouse, or it could just be, Mr. Paul's little buildings with a few things in it. So, we were a little reluctant to say, that should all be C2 because there's residential uses in there, even though it is a C1 district. There's houses across the street, there's some houses right in that general area. Those people have not been contacted as far as, their interest in a zoning change. So we thought as a next step that perhaps he should go seek a use variance first in the zoning board of appeals.
Thank you.
So I do have a copy of Robert Paul's petition there, if we need it. But I guess what I'm recommending right now, at least my suggestion is that as a first course of action, and we'll follow up with this on a second course, is to go ahead and seek relief from the zoning board of appeals by applying for a use variance. As you'll see in the next resolution, we're going to be introducing the comprehensive plan. So this way, Mr. Paul can start on his path down the zoning board of appeals, and this isn't the only reason we're introducing the comprehensive planning committee again, but it is one of the reasons. Again, I don't want to change subjects here, but so I guess what I'm recommending right now is that, or I guess maybe, our thought here is that Mr. Paul go ahead first and apply for a use variance.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I guess that's my motion or resolution here, that the town board, that upon the town board review of the planning board recommendations and prior to Mr. Paul seeking a zoning change from the town board, that Mr. Paul be advised to first seek relief from the zoning board of appeals by applying for a use variance.
I'll make,
How long does this all take, if he goes to the,
He goes to the zoning board,
yeah?
probably a couple months.
Can
He
I
has to
inter-
present a case. He has to bring in, they're gonna require certain documents or documentation of, him not being able to use the buildings for what he wants to use them for, and so on and so forth. And here you can-
It could take up a month or two. In my experience, it can be it can be the kind of thing that the zoning board can rule on in the same meeting. So the application can be submitted, and, the zoning board by statute has 60 days upon which to make a decision. But it's routinely granted if the zoning board is inclined to grant it in the same meeting, which is basically a decision is granted right in the same meeting. So it could be as soon as the next zoning board of appeals meeting.
But like I said, he does have to prepare for it. He
Yes,
just
it's
can't
not,
walk in
it
and go,
doesn't
"I
walk
want
in.
this."
He has to demonstrate
Yeah.
a number of different things, not the least of which is that, based on the zoning of the property, it's affecting his ability to make a living from that property,
Right.
in layman's terms.
Can I interject? It's basically, I've been told that I won't get it. I'll go to the zoning board, and it's almost impossible. People on the planning board have told me they've gone through it and have not. It's such a process that I will not get it. So
well,
this is just,
don't believe it.
I do believe it, because I know this has been
The thing is,
going on
give it a
for
chance.
years upon years.
I know, but
Okay, the buildings were built as warehouses, they're warehouses. Plain, simple.
right.
Each building was approved as a warehouse.
See, that's why we have a zoning board of appeals. And it seems to me that this is, I used to sit as an alternate on that board. And the more reasonably you submit your case, the more reasonably you're gonna receive an answer. And that'll
But
give you
it's-
what you're looking for.
It's not just for me, it's for, what about the rest of the people? They have to submit their case too? In the petition?
I mean, well,
I think you're